We get right down to earth today, talking about raw materials, physical raw materials of the kind that come out the ground. And we also drift into the clouds. I'll ask my guests how touchy-feely they are. Is there a place in business for emotion and sentimentality? Each week, influential business leaders come to Studio 80A in London's Broadcasting House for the BBC Radio 4 programme, The Bottom Line. And now you can see the discussion as well as hear it. This week, my guests are farmer and entrepreneur William Chase, Miles Roberts of the packaging company DS Smith, and Colin Melvin of the pension fund service Hermes Equity Ownership Services.
You're listening to BBC
Good morning, this is today.
News at 2 o'clock.
The options and the Charlotte Green with shipping forecast.
92 to 99 FM. And we're going to business now with The Bottom Line. Here's Evan.
Let's spend a few minutes meeting each of my three guests. And first is farmer William Chase, who took his own potatoes and set up a gourmet crisp company, Tyrrell's. More recently, you've moved into vodka, haven't you, William? Just tell us the story of how you sort of moved from farming into the business side.
I set out as a potato farmer and got quite good at it, and then got quite bad with market trends. Had some very bad times in the 90s. Started back up again, supplying potatoes for supermarkets. Built up a good business, and that sort of tailed off end of 90s, got very tough. I needed a change. And then one day I came up with the idea to turn the potatoes into crisps. Looking at another gourmet crisp manufacturer, we're not going to give them any oxygen. They were making very big burnt crisps at the time, so I was trading potatoes, and some of our potatoes ended up in there, and that's what gave me the eureka moment, the idea. And then on the back of that, set the business up, learning everything from PR, marketing, just logistics, the whole lot.
So why then? Because you've sold Tyrrell's, your crisp maker then.
I have, yes. The business grew fantastically quickly, and I think when a business grows that fast, it has to keep the momentum. I am not a corporate person. I don't like corporate jibber-jabber and talking in symbols. I like to keep things in control. I suppose I'm a bit of a control freak when it comes to business. So I can't sit on boards and listen to a whole lot of waffle. I like action. I like to see things happen.
Basically, the common thread has been looking for things to do with potatoes, really, hasn't it?
It was the next step, really, was turning it into spirits. And probably being a bit confident, I thought it was going to be easier than it was. But it's a very grown-up, very serious market.
But you're not making money out of the spirits, are you?
We are now, yeah. This year we'll turn a profit. So
Really?
This is the first year after 2 years. But it's been a big learning curve.
Thank you. Well, let's talk now about raw materials, physical raw materials. We spend a lot of time talking about what comes out of companies, what they produce. Let's talk a little about what goes in. Maybe we should start with you, William, because you just grow your own. And just talk to us about the importance of price and what's been happening to the prices of the raw materials in your world of potatoes.
Well, it's quite close to my heart, this, at the moment, because from my farmer background, it is commodities. And I can only speak mainly on the food industry. But if you have a look at cereal prices and food commodity prices, they have remained relatively low on the ex-farm price for the last few years.
Ex-farm for the price leaving the farm.
Price leaving the farm for the farmers. But now we've seen suddenly in the last 2 years, since fertiliser prices have doubled and all logistic prices, all commodities, chemicals, fertilisers. So the farmers were squeezed really hard a couple of years ago because all the commodity prices were going up, but yet their ex-farm price of the gate was staying the same. There has suddenly been, and it's funny how the whole commodity market sorts itself out, a bit of a balance here. So with relation to the cereals, what's happened to the commodity prices affecting cereals at the moment? We've seen Russia have a huge drought and an adverse growing season. Then we've also seen South Asia, obviously with the floods, and the floods have happened in all the areas where they do grow a lot of cereals. Cereals has gone up by 50%, and this is a record for many back since the 30s. We haven't seen such a massive price in cereal prices. So all of agricultural land, the whole industry in this country is based on the cereal prices, obviously, which is our main daily bread, which goes into bread and all other cereal-related products. The next year or so is going to be so difficult because obviously supermarkets have done their best to squeeze the farmers and keep the price as cheap as possible. The government supported them because the government wants cheap food to keep inflation down, so it's a natural cause. The government are on the retailer side.
So what's worrying you exactly?
Well, a bit in the middle. Who's going to absorb this bit in the middle? Where we'll have to see at least a 50% correction in food prices, almost, if this carried on the momentum it is, surely.
Right.
And I don't know how it'll happen because the retailers have kept the control on prices, because there's been plenty until now. A few years ago we had a week or so's supply of food in stock. Now we've got a few days. They say it's going to go down. If it gets down to less than that, it would severely affect inflation.
But essentially, the story as you've told it is, round one, the inputs, the fertiliser went up, and then the farmer was squeezed because his own selling prices weren't going up. And then the selling prices for the farm product went up.
Yes.
And yet the retail prices haven't yet reflected it.
Not yet,
so
no.
we need phase 3 to occur, really, and that's going to be another hit on the
Yes,
hard
and then
hit
it'll
family.
reflect on their share prices of the
Yeah.
big guys in the middle as they're doing the commodities. It'll affect everything, packaging,
so
the
that's-
whole works.
It's time now to get touchy-feely. Does business have to be hard-nosed, or is there a place for emotion, intuition, warmth, and sentimentality even? I just want to get each of your initial instincts to the words touchy-feely, whether you have a sort of positive feeling about those words or a negative one. Are you a touchy-feely?
Yeah,
person?
I think that's everything. I think for a business, for what I'm trying to do, if you're trying to sell a brand and deal with especially a super premium brand, you need to touch the hearts. There's got to be a story behind that brand. People have got to have some substance. I'm totally against twee marketing. And that's why small companies can be touchy-feely, because the companies I've started up and run with the customers, most of my customers, these are people that probably sit up and do their accounts on their bed or their kitchen table at 9 o'clock at night. So these people you're communicating with real people. And I think people in this day and age, they are bright enough, they're quite discerning, they know when a store is fake or it's tweak, or if you're making up some twee stores.
So you're maintaining your kind of authentic touchy-feely, the real touchy-feely, unlike these big corporates.
You can
who
start
are
exactly.
phony.
I believe you can start a new business, and it's great for new little businesses because they can start up where the big corporates lose it. Because once they turn into these big corporate machines, they start talking in symbols, and you don't understand half of what they're saying to start with. Whereas small businesses, they're 7 days in a week, and it's customer service, and it's dedicated. So that is how they can get started. And I think it's getting that message through that there is actually something real happening.
I do wonder
honest.
whether all business is about relationships, though. I mean, it's one thing I've learned in terms of developing and selling a new service, which is what I provide. It didn't exist before we started it up, and I've had to persuade people that they need it, and that's a
people thing.
that's a motive connection. I mean, you absolutely need to build a relationship with the people that you have as clients, and
But
to maintain
you
that.
surely present them spreadsheets and numbers and models
gotta start
that tell
somewhere.
them that
Very-
this is a way to do it. You don't appeal to their heart.
You need to have the numbers to support the proposition, but the sale, the trade is a personal one. It's a relationship.
If you want to learn more about the topics in the programme and about our partners, the Open University, visit our website at bbc.co.uk/bottomline. And do email us with any comments, thebottomline@bbc.co.uk.